Alright, hello everybody. This is going to be my second attempt, I guess now, at a Let's Play for Zelda Parallel Worlds version 1.2. This is kind of a play test as well, because I haven't finished a full playthrough of version 1.2, so I'm testing it before it ends up getting released. Before we get started, maybe I should give a little bit of a preface to what exactly I'm trying to do with version 1.2. First of all, what it's not a dungeon remodel. I did not remake the dungeons. They are what they are. If you want to play something with different dungeon layouts, you can try Puzzle Dude's parallel remodel. But what this really does try to address is it does still try to address some of the most frustrating aspects of Parallel Worlds without changing the dungeons. A couple of examples of that would be the Guardhouse. The Guardhouse is incredibly difficult. People hate the Guardhouse because you have to go through the entire thing, well, like the first 2/3 of it without your sword. So now you have the ability to stun guards by punching them. So that helps to temper the difficulty curve quite a bit without changing the dungeon. Another example is bomb jumping, like in the Halls of Pain. I didn't remove the bomb jumps, but I did remove damage from the bombs. You still take damage if you fall. You still have to make the bomb jumps properly. But now if you make 7 successful bomb jumps in a row and then you miss the last one, you take 1 damage and start over. You don't take 8 damage and start over and then have to go get fairies and lose all of that. And yeah, basically my goal with this is I want to be able to play through this without cheats or save states. We'll see if I've succeeded in that. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, I'll probably be commenting as we go on the different changes that are made in version 1.2. Other than that, I guess let's just jump right into it. Oh, before we jump right into it, one of the big changes is the addition of MSU1 audio, which essentially means that you get CD quality audio tracks in the game, which is really awesome. And big thanks to Bayou and Khan for making that happen. Yeah, let's just jump into it and you can hear it for yourself because it's pretty awesome. Hopefully it's going to the stream. It looks like the audio's going to the stream. There we go. Now I can hear it. I'm not gonna narrate the text as it goes by. I kind of don't like the sound of my own voice, and it is what it is, so yeah. I'll let you guys read it. So I'd previously started another Let's Play, and I got through the first 3 dungeons, I think, and then I found a couple other changes that I wanted to make that do affect the Guardhouse, and another one that affects the Halls of Pain. So I decided to just go ahead and scrap that LP and start another one. And while I was at it, I made this nifty scene layout in Open Broadcaster software, so now I've got the nice composite scene rather than just the raw game footage. So that's kind of cool. Alright, so we've gone through that. I'm never very creative with my character naming. Oops, looks like I have cheats on. Let me turn those off real quick. Alright. Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to play without cheats, so. Okay, so right there you can see that you can stun the guards, and you can, you know, they can't hurt you while they're stunned. Basically it works the same way as Boomerang, because that's actually what it's doing, is it's executing the Boomerang subroutine. That code came from Con, so you know what? Let's go grab this heart piece first, even though it doesn't really help us until later. But I'm still going to go get it. I'm starting to get some stuttering. Let me see if I can do anything about that. Okay, I don't know if that helped at all. I guess we'll find out. So one of the minor changes that I made here early on is to the in-game clock system. Normally what happens is there's a 24-hour clock that progresses, I want to say it's 12 minutes in real time for an hour in-game, and then every hour the color palette changes on the overworld, which allows it to get light and then get dark. And normally, when you start a new game, it just starts at 0, because it just blanks out that entire block of RAM. So that would set the time to midnight. And then the time just starts moving, which during this early portion of the game would allow you to, if you just felt like you could just stand outside and watch it become daylight outside, even though it was still night and raining. So here you can see if it worked. Okay, so the time is currently paused at midnight. And really I would like to try and figure out how to just completely blank out that entire section up there in the upper left so that the time doesn't even show up until what's called part 2 of the game. Part 2 is when you bring Zelda here to the sanctuary, and then once you bring her here, then when you walk outside it's no longer nighttime out. I'd like to try and just blank that all out, but I haven't been able to figure out how to do that yet, so for now, it's just midnight. And it'll stay midnight until you bring Zelda to the church, at which point it just instantly and magically turns to, I want to say 4:30 a.m.? Something like that. It's a half an hour before dawn. Okay, so another interesting thing with this punching is because it's using the boomerang code, it's actually kind of ridiculously overpowered against some enemies, like the Armos Knights, where it takes 12 hits with your bare hand to kill an Armos Knight, even though it takes like 3 times that, 30 some odd hits with the level 1 sword. So that's kind of interesting, but I'll let it go because it's also kind of weird to have an Armos Knight this early in the game. So we'll just pretend like that Armos Knight right there was just weaker than a normal one. So another thing you can do is you can actually save and quit at any point. Normally you could only save after you've got the sword. Now you can save at any point, which comes in real handy in the Guardhouse, where you get halfway through the Guardhouse and you're just really getting hurt. You can save and quit. That was also thanks to Con. A lot of the improvements in this are code that Con wrote and that I just kind of compiled into this, and then I did a bunch of bug fixing myself on top of that. So in terms of the new features, most of the new features are from Con, and oh, whoops, wrong way. Broken for the cave back in the town. Most of the new features are from Con, and then a lot of the bug fixes are my own. Oh, and if anybody has ever played this game on a flash card or a repro card and had the title screen graphics get all garbled, there is a fix for that that works on real hardware, and that fix has been incorporated into this patch, so you don't have to add it yourself. So as of Parallel Worlds 1.2, that will no longer be an issue. As long as I didn't break something, because there are a couple of the patches that I've added that ended up causing new glitches in the title screen, but I know how to fix them. I just have to remember to, not break it again. Alright, let's see if I can dodge this guy. There we go. It's another enemy that oh, come on, if I can even hit him. There we go. So skeletons, you're also kind of overpowered against them because they're pretty weak to the boomerang as well. Wow, I'm really lousy at this right now. So that one you can actually kind of see the hitbox is a little bit weird on your fist. You can actually hit enemies that are like a couple pixels in front of your actual fist. So it's almost like it has the hitbox of the level 1 sword, or possibly the hammer. I'm not really sure. Okay, so I'm gonna not talk, try and make it through this room in one try. that was close. There you can see again. Just kind of extended range on your fist. It's a little bit weird, but so far I haven't really felt that compelled to track down the issue. Okay, so there's a pretty good chance of getting a heart here in this first room, so I'm just going to try and get one or two more real quick. Yeah, I think you only get one, but I'll kill them both just because. So I'll try and get one more heart just to make sure, even though it's considerably easier with the ability to stun guards. As you've already seen, my ability to actually do that is currently less than stellar. Okay, well, we'll call that good for now. Really love this particular theme, and this is a really great rendition of it too. So the actual audio tracks in this were ripped from the 3DS game A Link Between Worlds. There's a few tracks that don't exist on that soundtrack, so I had to find other sources for them, but that was my main source of tracks. Over on the Zeldix forums, the Retromancer made his own track pack that I believe was based around the Zelda Reorchestrated album. I'm not really a fan of using the orchestral arrangements as soundtracks. They don't have the same instrumentation that you would expect from an actual in-game soundtrack. It sounds really great to listen to, but it just doesn't quite seem right in-game to me. So, I was glad to have this particular source material to work with. Okay, so this right here, this is one of the bugs that just took me forever, and I hated it. And you know what? I'm just super glad to be done with it. So, you walk down the stairs. You walk down the stairs properly. And big whoop. Well, before the layering priority, it got messed up on the background tiles, and when you go to walk down the stairs, instead of the part of the stairs that's supposed to be on top of Link to show that you're going behind it as you go around the corner, instead Link looked like he was walking on top of the wall, and it just looked really funny. And it's not really a big deal, it's just a minor graphical glitch, but it bothered me, so I decided to try and track it down. And then dove down a 3 or 4 week long rabbit hole of, yeah. If you've ever done debugging, basically the main tool I had at my disposal was trace logging. I had almost 700 megabytes worth of trace logs that I dug through trying to track that thing down. That's a lot of logs. Turns out it was related to one of the extra features that they added, called the Lens of Truth, where there's hidden layers of or where certain things are like false walls and things like that, and you can actually see through the false walls, which is kind of cool. But they made a mistake in the code, kind of a classic mistake of not using bit masks and instead just giving static value assignments. So when you're supposed to be just setting and unsetting a single bit, instead they just set the entire byte to a static value, and it was the wrong value in that case when you were walking down the stairs. If you want to see that in action, you can, you know, either play version 1.1 yourself or... Okay, there's another change that I made. I slowed down the soldiers a bit. They're still faster than in the original game, but... Gads, those guys are freaking fast. I think they... From looking at the code, I think they actually run double speed in Parallel Worlds, as opposed to the original. And it would lead to sometimes you getting into a situation where they would hit you and you would get kind of stunned for a second, and then while you were trying to get moving again, they would turn around and hit you again, and you could actually get stuck and just basically you couldn't get out, and they would just kill you because you made one stupid mistake and couldn't get away. So I slowed them down to, I think, 150% instead of 200%. If I understand the code correctly. Not really sure, but... Long story short, you can actually get away from the guards now. So anyway, yeah, if you want to see some of these bugs that I'm talking about, you can play it yourself or go watch a Let's Play of somebody else playing version 1.1. Here's another one. Another minor glitch that was way more of a headache than it was worth. Look, the door works. In 1.1, you would actually walk through the door when it was closed, and then it would open really quickly and then shut again. And again, it doesn't affect the game at all. It's purely aesthetic. But it bothered me, and I wanted to figure it out, so I did. Backtrack to the wine cellar? Sounds right. Oh yeah, because I got the big key, so... Yeah, the wine cellar, because there's a small key door in there. Staircase works. And so that staircase bug actually would happen on any staircase with in a room with that kind of arrangement, like where there's the lower floor where you go down that straight staircase, and then you're on the lower floor, and then you go down the other staircase to another room. That bug would affect any staircase in that particular arrangement. It wouldn't affect a staircase like that because in that room you're considered up on the upper level of the room. It's not a split level room like the other one. Yeah, this was a rather infamous room in 1.1. First of all, because you couldn't attack the guards, and second of all, because the guards were running at double speed. So with both of those issues taken care of, that room is now a piece of cake. So now we can go get our sword. Okay, so just because we're gonna go ahead and save and quit, just in case I die, and we'll end up right back there having gotten our sword. Now this right here, the palette is wrong. It's darker than it should be, and I know exactly what's causing that, but I have not had the time to bother to debug it, so I'll deal with that later. Basically, it's the code that makes it dark outside at night and then makes it get bright. Because right now it's midnight, but the code is supposed to recognize when you're at the title screen and then not change the colors at all, but for whatever reason, when you save and quit and then come back into the game, it doesn't recognize that, so it still applies the night palette. Like I said, I know what causes it. It's on my to-do list to get that fixed before I release 1.2, but I haven't gotten around to it, and right now I feel like playing the game and not running the game through single-stepping and trace logging. I've done enough of that for this week, so I just feel like playing the game right now. Oh, what the heck. I don't really care that much. Sorry, not even gonna hurt to make up for it, so no big deal. Oh, okay, so now that I've got the sword, I can show off another one of Khan's cool improvements. You can now break pots with the sword, just like you can in basically every other Zelda game. Other than, like, Zelda 1, and I don't remember off the top of my head if you can in... no, you can't in Link's Awakening. But pretty much all the other Zelda games since Ocarina have allowed you to break pots with your sword, so. Another thing you can do is, I'll show you next time there's an item on the ground. You can pick up items with your sword as well, which is another thing you've been able to do for a while. Like that. And you may have seen me do that a couple of times with the, before I got the sword. I did that a couple of times with just my fists, so. Okay, so here's another change. So you can actually have the shovel throughout the entire game. That's really helpful because the items you can dig up a heart, you can dig up a blue rupee, you can dig up, I think it's 1 bomb and 5 arrows. So that goes a long way towards giving you a pretty decent supply of hearts if you're low, because I think it's a 1 in 8 chance of getting any one of those items. So you got a pretty decent chance of digging up hearts if you need them, or bombs or arrows if you need them too. The other nice thing about that is that if you played version 1.1, you're probably aware that there's an empty spot in your inventory screen, just because of the way the new style menu worked. So this takes up that. Whoa. Okay, I just crashed the game. That one's new. Okay, well, I'm glad that I saved when I got the sword, so, well, there's something to figure out for later. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and reset and hope that my save file's still intact. I have a feeling that that happened so I think that happened when I selected the shovel, so I think I know where that bug is. I'll figure it out tomorrow. Tonight I'm still going to try and beat the Guardhouse, so yeah, so we've got our sword. Okay, so I need to go get the key from the prison warden and then rescue Zelda. So this is why I'm doing a playtest, to find these bugs. Thankfully I'm familiar enough with all the things that I've been doing, messing with this stuff, that when I create new bugs, usually I'm pretty aware of where they're at, so. I'm gonna go ahead and post this video up to YouTube after I'm done streaming, so once it's up there, I'll post a note on the video, like an annotation or something, to indicate once these bugs are fixed. So that somebody watching, 6 months from now or whatever, they're watching and wondering if these bugs are still here, then you'll know that they aren't, hopefully. But either way, you'll know if they are or if they aren't. Well, this time I can't just walk across there because I don't want to die. Kind of need a heart. because this guy with the morning star has a tendency to hit me. Nope, there's no hearts up here. Okay, there we go, there's a heart. Okay, let's play it safe. And sorry for the annoying beep. I hate it just as much as you probably do. No, 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 no. Okay. And that's one of those situations where before, with the super fast guards, I probably would have been dead. Because they were just so stinking fast. Okay, so in the next room, there are hearts in the jars, so I just have to not die, and then I've got heart refills. So anyway, as I was saying when the game crashed, the shovel takes up a spot in the inventory that was empty before, because in the original game, when you select a bottle, there's only one spot in the inventory for a bottle, and then there's actually like a sub-screen that pops up where you select which of the 4 bottles you want to use. In this game, they put all 4 bottles into the inventory and you just select, you just select them like any other item. However, then there was still an empty spot in the inventory where the single bottle was supposed to go. So now the shovel goes there, and then you can also have the shovel and the flute both at the same time. Where in the original game, it's actually hard-coded where you can only have the flute or the shovel. You can't have both. Because they both go in the same slot, kind of like the mushroom and the magic powder. I don't know why I came up here, I didn't need to open that door. So yeah, adding the shovel into the game alongside the flute, as well as allowing you to dig up random stuff in the overworld outside of the digging game. Normally, when you have the shovel, even if you do take the shovel outside of the digging game into the main world, you can't actually dig up anything because there's nothing to dig up. So that was all. Again, that was all con. And then Puzzle Dude was the one that had the idea of adding it into Parallel Worlds, of adding the shovel in to take up that slot. So he originally put out a small update to Parallel Worlds that he called Parallel Worlds 1.2, that really all it was the shovel and the title screen fix, I think was all he did. So when I started working on this, I actually talked to him, oh, please don't crash. Okay, good. Just you can't select the shovel. Okay, so anyway, I asked Puzzle Dude whether or not he was okay with me calling this version 1.2, and he said he was okay with it, and Euclid was okay with it, and all. So everybody's happy. And then once I'm all done here, I'm actually going to give him all of my code so that he can incorporate this update into his dungeon remodel if he wants as well. I don't have the time or the motivation to playtest through Parallel Remodel, but if he wants to go ahead and do that, he can absolutely have all my source files. Ah, that spike is super cheap. Anyway. That right there is another one of the staircases that was glitched before. Which I only bothered to point out because of what a pain in the neck it was to fix, despite how small of a end result it was. That bat right there that I just killed, that used to be on the wrong layer, and so you couldn't hit it, and it couldn't hit you. That was a nice, quick little fix. I think Puzzle Dude helped me with that one. I mean, could have done it on my own, but sometimes it's really handy to have other people just point you at things as opposed to hunting through all your documentation just to try and find a single byte in the entire ROM. Alright, and here we're about to see another really handy fix in this version. In the previous version, the boomerang, or the red boomerang, was in a treasure chest, and the treasure chest was coded in such a way that if you had the blue boomerang in your inventory when you tried to open that treasure chest, instead of giving you the red boomerang, it would give you 300 rupees. So essentially, if you got the blue boomerang, you could not also get the red boomerang later in the game. So you basically had to choose between the two, which was a really lousy choice because the blue boomerang is hugely beneficial in the next dungeon. So, long story short, that's fixed now. So you can actually get both boomerangs, which is exactly what I'm going to do. And I am also going to abuse save checkpoints, because this will actually take me back to the beginning of the basement, right where the big treasure chest is. And once again, this is dark. I'll fix it. I promise. So, here we are. And we even got full health while we're at it. So, free health and a free warp. And here we are. Select the shovel. Because, so yeah, anyway, remember, you know, when I ran to that Armos night, and I mentioned that the boomerang does 3 times as much damage to an Armos Knight as the level 1 sword. Well, in the next dungeon we've got 12 not 12 Armos Knights, what is it, 8 Armos Knights, something like that. And with the level 1 sword and no bow and arrow, they take like 30 hits each. And there's a big pit in the middle of the room, and it's awful. Now we can get the boomerang, which before making this patch, I literally had never gotten the blue boomerang in this game. I've played through it 2 or 3 times, started at several more that I didn't finish, and every single time I skipped the blue boomerang. And then my first time playing through this with the blue boomerang, I was just amazed at how much it helped with the Armos Knights. And that sort of thing fits perfectly with just kind of my whole goal for this update, is that, like I said before, I want to be able to play this through without using cheats or save states. I want to be able to play this on the actual hardware and actually be able to beat the game. I don't want to get into it and then feel like I can only play this game on an emulator because I need, you know, whether it's invincibility or save states or, you know, whatever. But at the same time, I don't want to just start like removing things from the game to make it easier. I don't want to start removing spikes. I don't want to start removing holes so that you don't have to jump over them anymore. I don't want to start reworking the dungeons. Because if I was going to rework the dungeons, I wouldn't just make them easier. I would actually want to redo all of the dungeons. And that's just way more work than I want to do. So I decided, you know, this is Euclid's hack. This is his Parallel Worlds, and I wanted to still be his Parallel Worlds and just add to it in ways that improve the experience for the player. But I didn't want to do, you know, puzzle dudes remodel. I didn't want to do that. It was just, that's way more work than I want to do. And I'm not very good at dungeon editing either, so, you know, it wouldn't have been very good. But I found that there's other ways to address a lot of the issues that people have without changing the dungeons. So this playthrough hopefully will give me a pretty good idea of whether or not I succeeded at that. Okay, so it's 4:39. Might have to look at that code. I think it actually resets the time right when Zelda first walks out that door. So it was probably, time was moving while we were talking, but I think also I might have put the wrong numbers in there because I wanted it to be 4:30. So you want to be sure to use the boomerang there and not your sword, because there's anti-sword shooters and they will attack you pretty mercilessly. So the reason I chose 4:30 is because, I mean, you can see it's already 4:50. Anyway, so here in 10 minutes in game time, you'll actually see it become dawn. Let's see if I can get this heart piece up here. I don't know if I can. Well, that one I know I can't, but there's another one on here. See? So I wanted to set it to like just before dawn so that you could actually see it turn light. Oh, wait, this isn't a heart piece. It's a heart piece in the icy world. There, it's a fairy fountain. So yeah, now that it's daytime, you can see the clock starting normally. And then if you quit out of the game and come back to it, like I will, when I'm done with the segment, when I come back next segment, when it clears out that RAM and then doesn't really, well, it does initialize it. It initializes it to 0. I changed it so that 0 represents noon as opposed to midnight, because otherwise before, every time you turn on the game, it starts at midnight. And I don't know, I didn't really like that. I'd rather start at noon. Let's see here, let's go get the bug catching net. And then right there is another really minor graphical glitch. It used to come out of those hole-in-the-ground staircases at the wrong Y coordinate, so it looked like you were like coming out of the ground. It was kind of weird, but that was a simple fix. That one was due to the game hard coding certain room numbers to have those kind of exits. I think it was rooms higher than 292. And I guess Euclid or Ceph or whoever was responsible for that didn't realize that that was how it was hard coded, and so their room numbers don't match up with that. So all I had to do was change the hard-coded room list to match properly. I really don't want to lose bombs right now, because I want to bomb jump across there. Ooh, ouch. Oh no, I did it again. Because I wanted to use the shovel. Okay, so I'm going to call this the end of this segment, and yeah, I will just go ahead and get my save file back to where it should be and fix the shovel glitch, and I'll come back tomorrow and pretend like this didn't just crash, and we'll just start here again. So anyway, see ya.